Once upon a tall tale. Of Mercy and Memory by Morgan Olson. Once Upon a Tall Tale, Season 0, Episode 13. They say this neighborhood is quiet. That's not true. It's just not loud about the things that matter. On warm afternoons, the porches fill up. Folding chairs first, then the people. Rockers creak. Ice clinks in glasses. Someone's radio plays a station that hasn't updated its playlist since the late 90s. Dogs sleep where dogs can see everything. Mail carriers slow down, not because they're tired, because they're curious. The crime maps don't like this place. The heat just drains out of them. The color-coded overlays go pale and confused at the edges where this neighborhood begins, and the analysts have learned to crop their screenshots. Sirens don't pass through, and it isn't because they're banned. There's nothing here for them to do once they arrive. This wasn't an accident. This was payroll. The state calls it Community Presence Compensation, which sounds like a line item you skip over. The idea was simple enough that it embarrassed the consultants paid to complicate it. Pay people to remain visibly present. No uniforms, no authority, no training beyond already knowing what's going on. It turns out the people best suited for the job were already doing it for free. Different neighborhoods had different names for them. Babushka, yenta, auntie, nonna, tia, lola. All used affectionately, the way people name storms or saints, or old clocks that still keep time. After that, everyone just called them the older women. They sit on the porches like they always did. The only difference now is the check clears on Fridays. The state tried clipboards once. They disappeared. Not confiscated, not lost. Absorbed, the way neighborhoods absorb things that don't belong. The rubber bands turned up on doorknobs. The cover letters became bookmarks in novels that were already bookmarked somewhere else. They tried an app. Nobody downloaded it. One woman downloaded it, looked at it for 40 seconds, and uninstalled it. She was the most tech-forward woman on the block. The others didn't ask her opinion because they didn't need to. Folding chairs proved sufficient. What the older women do is not intervene. They don't stop anything. They don't shout. They don't call anyone. They notice. They remember. They talk sideways. A look is exchanged. A sentence ends early. Someone says, "That's interesting." And suddenly it is. They all have phones. Of course they do. Everybody does. The phones aren't special. The apps aren't special either. They don't decide anything. They just remember faster than people can lie. Long text threads get summarized. Patterns surface. Inconsistencies glow softly, like a stitch dropped 3 rows back. Mostly the phones stay on the tables. And sometimes someone hands one over. Nobody's forced to. People ask. That's the rule everyone knows. If you want mercy, you give her the phone. You don't have to unlock it. If you hesitate, that already counts. Nobody remembers who made the rule. That's the thing about the rules here. They don't have authors. They have weather patterns. Ray found out about the rule the way everyone finds out. Too late to plan around it. Ray was 26 and had a business, in the sense that he had business cards. Raymond T. Delacroix, Quality Driveway and Paving. The cards were heavy stock. The trucks in the photo on the cards belonged to a company in another state. Ray's method was simple. Knock on doors where the driveways were cracked and the homeowners were old, quote a fair price, take a deposit for materials, and be somewhere else by the time the materials failed to arrive. He'd worked 4 neighborhoods that spring. He was good at it. He had a face people trusted, and he'd learned to be a little clumsy with the paperwork on purpose, because competence frightens old people, and fumbling reassures them. He should not have come here. He knew that later. At the time, all he saw was a block with more cracked driveways per capita than anywhere he'd worked, and porches full of exactly his demographic. He collected 2 deposits on the first afternoon. Cash, both times, folded into an envelope he kept in his jacket. The second one came from a man named Mr. Okafor, 81, who counted the bills out slowly and asked twice when the crew would come. And Ray said Thursday and shook his hand and felt the hand tremble slightly and felt nothing about that, which was a skill he'd developed and was not proud of and did not think about. He was walking back to his car when the voice came off the third porch. Young man, not loud, not sharp, pitched exactly to the distance between them, the way you'd speak to someone in the same room. She was small, in a cardigan despite the heat, knitting something dark green in the round. There was a pitcher on the table beside her and a phone in a case with a crack across the corner, and a copy of Vogue Knitting folded open to a specific page like a legal document. You did the Okafor's driveway estimate, she said. It was not a question. Come sit. There were steps. He sat on them, because the chairs were clearly not for him, and this was somehow communicated without being said. You want some tea? She was already pouring. Miss Odessa, you're Raymond. Ray. Raymond, she agreed, and handed him the glass. He drank the tea. It was very good tea. He was aware, in a way he could not have justified to anyone, that leaving right now was possible in the technical sense only. She knitted for a while. He watched the street. A boy went by on a bicycle and raised a hand to her without looking, and she raised a hand back without looking. And Ray understood that this was a census being taken, continuously, and had been for decades, and that he was now in it. My nephew does concrete, she said. 30 years. You know what he told me once? He said you can always tell a real paving man by his forearms. She glanced at Ray's forearms briefly, without comment, and went back to the green thing growing in her lap. The street was very quiet. You know, she said. There was a man came through here 2 summers ago. Insurance, he said. Nice-looking man. Sat right where you're sitting. A stitch. Another. He didn't want any tea. Ray waited for the rest of it. There was no rest of it. She let the sentence sit there, unfinished, and he understood that the ending was not being withheld to frighten him. It was being withheld because she didn't consider it his business, the same way you wouldn't tell one patient about another. She hadn't asked for the phone. That was the part that undid him, later, when he tried to explain it to himself in the car. She never asked. She just set her knitting down at some point and looked at him with an attention that had no aggression in it whatsoever, an attention like the attention of gravity, and he took his phone out of his jacket, the same jacket with the envelope in it. He could feel the envelope against his ribs like a second heartbeat, and handed it to her. He didn't unlock it. He didn't have to. She held it a moment, feeling the weight of it, and then she did something he did not expect. She handed it back. I don't need to read it, baby, she said. I've been reading you since you parked. Then she asked about his mother. And the terrible thing, the thing he would carry down the block afterward, was that he answered. About his mother. About Louisiana. About the uncle whose business the cards were half copied from. The real Delacroix, dead now. Who actually had known concrete, whose forearms had been like bridge cable, who'd taken Ray on jobs the summer he was 14 and shown him how to float a slab so smooth you could read by it, and who'd said, Ray heard himself telling her this, heard his own voice doing it, that concrete was honest because it kept a record. Every shortcut you took, setting it showed up later as a crack. You could lie to the customer, but you could not lie to the material. Miss Odessa nodded at that as if it confirmed something she'd read elsewhere. She asked one question every few minutes, never the question he was braced for, and by the time the light got long, she knew everything without having asked for any of it, and he had eaten 3 cookies without noticing they'd arrived, and the milk was in a glass, a real glass, which meant somebody was going to wash it, which meant he'd been expected to stay. Thursday, she said when he finally stood up. The Okafors are expecting you Thursday. It was not a threat. He searched it for a threat and there was nothing in it to find. It was a calendar item. It was the assumption, stated as fact, that he was the kind of man who showed up Thursday, and the assumption had a weight to it, and the weight transferred to him in the handshake, and he walked to his car carrying it. The walk was 4 blocks. By the first corner, the story he'd been telling himself, 60 days, 6 neighborhoods, then the coast, had developed a structural problem he couldn't locate. By the second, he'd stopped trying to locate it. There was a porch on the second block too. 2 women shelling peas into a steel bowl, and neither of them looked at him. And the not looking was itself a communication, because they didn't need to look. The looking had already been done. The information was already wherever information went on this block, moving porch to porch at the speed of a raised hand. By the 3rd block, he was thinking about slabs, about what his uncle would say about a man who took deposits on work he never meant to do. His uncle wouldn't say anything, was the truth of it. His uncle would just look at him the way Miss Odessa had looked at him, with that gravity, and go back to the float. By the 4th block, the envelope in his jacket weighed 9 pounds. His car was where he'd left it. Parked behind it, half a block down, was another car, an older sedan, dusty, plates from out of state, a parking ticket bleached to illegibility under the wiper. It had the settled look of a thing that had been there a long time and was not going anywhere. Ray looked at it for a moment, without knowing why. Then he knew why, and got in his own car, and did not look at it again. He almost left anyway. Wednesday night he sat in a motel off the highway with the envelope on the bed and the coast already loaded into his phone, 3 states over, and he could not produce a single practical reason to stay. Nobody was making him. There was no debt, no threat, nothing with teeth. There was just a woman with a green thing growing in her lap who had looked at him like weather and then let him go. And it was only there, on that particular bed, at that particular hour, that he understood the letting go hadn't been mercy given for free. It was mercy he was now expected to be worth. He drove back before he'd decided to. He noticed that afterward, the way his hands had made the turn before his head signed off on it. The same way, he thought, they'd learned to float a slab before he understood what the floating was for. Thursday came. A crew came with it. Rented equipment, subcontracted labor, Ray in a hard hat directing men who knew more than he did, and finding, to his surprise, that his hands remembered things his plans had never needed. Mr. Okafor watched from the window. Around 10, the old man came out with a folding chair and set it up on his own lawn and just sat there, in the sun, watching the work the way you'd watch weather arriving, and Ray poured and screeded and floated, and did it at a loss, and the loss felt like something being paid down rather than lost. Miss Odessa's porch was visible from the Okafor's driveway. She never once looked over. That was the thing he told the story about later, 3 towns over, to the one person he ever told the story to. Not the phone, not the cookies. That she never looked over. That she didn't need to watch him do it. The watching was finished. What was left was just him and the material, which kept a record. Mr. Okafor's driveway is the best on the block. Ray does real work now, forearms coming along. Here is what the record doesn't show. Whether he had a choice. Whether any of it was mercy or just a slower kind of sentence, served in daylight, with milk. Whether the man who didn't want any tea would say, from wherever he is, that the cookies are the trap. That the trap is precisely that it doesn't feel like one. That you walk into it nodding, that you thank her. His sedan sat on the block for 11 days before the city towed it. Nobody claimed it. Nobody asked about it. The women watched it get winched up onto the flatbed the way they watched everything. And one of them said something, and the others laughed. The short kind of laugh people use to close a door, not open one. Nobody said his name. Somewhere, probably, someone is still waiting on a call that isn't coming. And the porch knows that and has known it the whole time. The porch decided, a long time ago, which weights it could carry and keep sitting, and this was on the list. The knitting went on. The green thing in Miss Odessa's lap became a sweater. Somebody's grandson wears it. The statistics come later. They always do. Crimes committed by women drop to 0. Crimes committed against women follow shortly after. Repeat offenders become hard to locate. Not arrested, not processed, just elsewhere. Nobody asks where elsewhere is. That's worth sitting with for a minute. In a neighborhood where everything is noticed, where a dropped stitch 3 rows back glows softly until someone finds it, nobody asks where elsewhere is. Either everyone knows, or everyone has decided that this particular thread is not to be pulled. Both possibilities are load-bearing. Neither is comfortable. Think tanks try to model it. Grants get issued. Papers get written and quietly withdrawn. Consultants stop returning calls. You can't quantify being known. You also can't appeal it. That's the other side of the ledger, the side the porches don't advertise. The system with the fluorescent lights, the one everybody hates. It has forms, and the forms are terrible. But the forms exist because somewhere behind them is the idea that you can be wrong about a person, and there should be a procedure for that. There is no procedure here. There is Miss Odessa's memory, which is excellent, and her judgment, which is excellent, and the fact that excellent is not the same as infallible, and the fact that nobody has ever tested the difference, because how would you? Cross her honestly and you get cookies. Cross her and be misread and there is no office to visit, no number to call, no box-marked appeal. There is only the block, and the way the block feels when it has decided something about you, and the fact that the deciding happens in a register below language, where no correction can reach it. There was a boy a few summers before Ray, 4 blocks over, named Dante Reyes, 17, who stopped coming around not long after his name came up on a porch that wasn't his own. Nothing happened to him exactly. No sedan, no 11 days on a flatbed. He just stopped being invited to things. Then he stopped being anywhere anyone could point to. His mother said he'd gone to stay with an aunt in Georgia, and maybe that was true. What got him noticed was a text thread that read, "Wrong out of context." A joke that didn't land as a joke. A photo that could have meant 2 things. Miss Odessa never said what she thought. She didn't have to. The porch went quiet around his name, the way it goes quiet around weather, and the quiet did the rest of the work by itself. Nobody has ever gone back to check. Checking isn't a thing the porch knows how to do. Maybe Dante did something worse than a bad text thread and simply got smart about leaving before it caught up with him. Maybe he didn't. Maybe the women are never wrong, and this was the one time, and nobody noticed. Because noticing your own mistake takes a kind of appeal process too, and there isn't one of those either. Nobody knows is the point. Nobody has ever known. The porches keep no minutes. Power shifts the way it always does when nobody's announcing it. City Hall still meets. Men still run things. But decisions start routing through porches first. A council member whose mother still lives on the block learns early to stop in before the vote. Not to ask permission, just to sit for a few minutes and drink something cold and listen to what's being said about what's being planned. Disputes settle themselves before they ever reach a desk. Bad actors move away for reasons that are hard to document. Good people get chances they didn't technically earn. A job mentioned, an introduction made, a word placed in the right ear at the right moment. A small correction to the distribution of opportunity, made by someone who can see the whole board. Made by someone who can see the whole board. Nobody calls it a matriarchy. That would be rude. Much later, someone mentions the new mercy system. The one the city 3 states over rolled out. Digital intake, behavioral scoring, a 90-minute window to plead your case against yourself. Outcome logged and flagged for review. In that city, there is a room. It's a nice room, as these things go. The designers fought for the room, fought procurement for the good chairs, fought legal for the window. A kid sits in it. 19. First offense that counted. Hoodie he keeps almost taking off. On the table is a tablet, and on the tablet is a countdown. And the countdown started at 90 minutes and is now at 71 minutes and 14 seconds. And in the remaining time he is invited to upload anything that might help the system understand him. Character references, employment records, a personal statement, photos if relevant. He has a character reference from a manager at a job he held for 5 months. He has a personal statement he wrote last night with his cousin, 4 drafts, the cousin saying, "No, don't say that. They'll read that wrong." He spends 9 minutes trying to decide if a photo of him and his little sister at her graduation is relevant, or manipulative, or both, and whether the system can tell the difference, and what it means about him that he can't. The system, to its credit, is trying. The system was built by people who'd seen the old way, the file, the number, no window at all, and hated it, and fought for the 90 minutes the way you fight for anything humane inside a machine, incrementally, exhaustedly, calling it a pilot. The 90 minutes was the reform. The 90 minutes made the papers. He uploads the photo at 44:07. He spends the last half hour rereading his own statement, looking for the sentence that will be read wrong, unable to find it, certain it's there. The outcome is logged. The outcome is flagged for review. The review has a backlog. Somebody tells this story on the porch, a niece who works in that city, in that agency actually, who helped fight for the window in that room and is proud of it and tired. One of the older women looks up from her knitting. 90 minutes? She says. I've been watching him since kindergarten. She goes back to the yarn. The count resumes where it left off. The niece starts to say something about scale, about the 400,000 people in her city who don't have a porch, about what you're supposed to do for the kid in the room whose block has no chairs on it, whose Miss Odessa moved away or died or never was, about the fact that the 90 minutes exists precisely for everyone the porches never knew. She starts to say it, and then she looks down the street, at the chairs, at the phones on the tables, at the whole unspoken apparatus of it, and doesn't. Not because she's wrong, because she's on the porch, and things get settled differently here, and she knows it, and she drinks her tea. Both systems are making the same claim. We know you well enough to judge you. The machine says it in 90 minutes with a confidence interval. The porch says it in 30 years with a plate of cookies. One of them publishes its error rate. The cookies are better. Everyone agrees the cookies are better. Everyone who's still here, anyway. Eventually, the state ends the program. Too informal, too powerful, too hard to audit. That last one is the real reason, and for once the auditors have a point, even if they can't say what the point is. Something in the building doesn't like a power it can't inspect, and something in the building is right not to. And the building is also the same building that produced the fluorescent rooms, so nobody's hands are clean, and nobody's warning is disinterested. A final memo goes out. 3 bullet points. Program sunset. Transition period. Thank you for your service to the community. Nobody delivers it in person. The checks stop coming. Nothing changes. The chairs stay. The porches stay full, fuller, maybe, now that the program exists again as what it always was, which is people knowing each other, which requires no authorization and produces no deliverable and reports to nobody. Reports to nobody. That was the finding in the end, the one the withdrawn papers kept almost saying. The program worked because it was unaccountable, and it was unaccountable because it worked, and the state could pay for it or not pay for it, but was never, at any point, in charge of it. Once you know what's going on, you don't stop knowing just because the money does. A new family moves in 2 houses down. The truck comes on a Saturday. The women watch from the porches, noting the children, noting the way the parents move, noting the small indicators of what kind of people they are trying to be. The learning of them begins. It will take years. The women are patient. The new mother waves. That first Saturday, a little uncertainly. Every hand on every porch comes up in return, all at once, easy as anything. Whether that's a welcome or a weather report, she'll figure out in time. Everyone does. Somewhere underneath that particular quiet is Dante Reyes, and the man who never wanted any tea, and everyone else the block ever decided about and never once had to explain itself for. The quiet doesn't forget them. It has just never discussed them, and by now nobody left could tell you which of those 2 things the quiet actually is. The rocking chairs creak. The yarn moves through practiced hands. Someone turns a page of Vogue and says, "See, this is what I was telling you." and the street remains very, very quiet.
This episode is a work of fiction. Any resemblance to a porch that knows more than it says is coincidental and not something we're prepared to discuss further. Copyright 2026, Morgan Olson / Static Oracle Press. All rights reserved.